Welcome, friends, to another episode of MANOVAAC Revelation in Words by Guruji Naushir. I'm Chanchal, and today I'll be asking some questions to Guruji. Namaskar, Guruji. My first question today is, what is bhakti in its real sense?
Yes, you see, bhakti is sometimes not understood properly. And in plain, simple language, bhakti means intense or rather very intense devotion. Here, what you have to do is feel that emotion. A lot of people talk of bhakti or imagine that they are showing bhakti, but there is no emotion flowing out. I mean, you have to feel it. You cannot just talk about it and say, or have external manifestations of the bhakti. It is an intense pull towards divinity, and that is really bhakti.
So, then my next question is, how does one feel intense love for divinity whom you cannot see or hear?
Yeah, here what you have to do is you have to uh, develop a kind of a relationship with divinity. In the sense that see divinity in some form first, because it's extremely difficult to love the formless. I mean, it's not humanly possible. How do you get emotions for a formless entity or a formless concept? So firstly, it's necessary to develop for to develop bhakti. It is necessary to see divinity in some form, and you can see divinity in any form, because all forms of divinity are the same. I mean, they may do different functions, they may have different responsibilities and roles, but ultimately they come from the same source. So, if you envision a form to love and then feel a strong connect, I would say to the exclusion of everything else, only then can you develop that bhakti. Because I think it is incredibly difficult to love the formless. So a form is very important in bhakti, some form of divinity. And you can choose any form. It's not that only this form will get you bhakti or that form. No, whichever inspires you, whichever draws you, whichever the qualities of that form inspire you or bring out the emotion, that is good enough.
So then, how does one experience bhakti like saints like Meera and Kabir?
Yeah, you see, they use a very simple method, or I would say a very simple way of developing high intensity devotion. You must uh, envision divinity in a close relationship with you, like maybe a beloved, maybe a parent, a child, a friend, a master. You have to envision this form of divinity in some relationship, because till you build that relationship, that emotion will not build. So it's extremely important that you envision that form in a relationship, and then start to believe that that relationship is true, and it's not an imaginary figment of your imagination. Because till you feel it's just your imagination, it will never increase. I mean, that intensity will never come. So today, if I feel a certain form of divinity are my parents, I mean, I absolutely 100% believe that, and there is no doubt in my mind that they are, and I don't consider them otherwise. Even if they are just a picture on the wall or a small statue, they're still in that role, and I believe in that. That's how the bhakti develops.
So my last question here is bhakti level of bhakti defined by our daily rituals like doing an aarti or fasting or lighting a diya every day?
No, that depends on your individual personality. Because no, bhakti can be very, very quiet and very internal and very intense, And it could be intense in a show of love. Like there are people who roll on the floor for miles to show their devotion to God. Both are equally good. And you could just sit in one place and love God without saying a word. Both are equally good. But these small manifestations of bhakti, they are for your satisfaction. I mean, to light a diya or to do an arti or to do any small ritual, that is your way of showing devotion. It is not mandatory. It depends on you, how you want to show your love. But end of the day, it must be in the heart. Just doing that with an empty heart has no meaning. It's like that. So bhakti is difficult to develop. It's not easy, though there are no rules in it. Like in all other parts of yoga where there are certain rules and regulations, bhakti has no rule. And people think that isme kya hai? No big deal, you know. But to develop that level of intensity, it's it's difficult. It doesn't come that easily because you don't have somebody talking to you back, answering you back, responding. No, the divinity is not going to do that. So it's a one-way street. You have to realize that. Though divinity does respond in very subtle ways, no doubt about that. But it's not what you feel like when you have a human partner. You know what I mean? So it is difficult to develop, but it's so much fun and so intense and so beautiful that a bhakt can never be anything else, and you never choose anything else beyond bhakti. It's so beautiful.
So it's not mandatory to get up early morning and do all those rituals.
No, it's not
They
mandatory.
they
It's
just
not
support.
mandatory.
They
It's
just
they
support.
support you. They satisfy you to a certain extent, but they're not mandatory. It's what you feel in the heart. If yeah,
Any time of the day.
any time of the day, all the time of the day. You can't love God only for a few minutes or a few
Yeah,
hours.
in the morning.
In the morning. No, it's not like that. Bhakti is very different. So that is why people don't understand the concept of bhakti. It's a 24/7 flow of emotion. You never forget it. It never leaves your mind. That's how intense it is.
Fine. Thank you, Guruji, for clearing this confusion which many of us feel related to this.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you, friends. See you next time with another episode with Guruji. Thank you.